Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes, the abduction, sexual trafficking, and cannibalization of our children. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Deeply researched and mixed with the supernatural, good versus evil makes these thrillers hard to put down, shining a light on the root cause of these crimes and introducing a spiritual solution. Justice will be served. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report, and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
And go. All right, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me through Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting through my website, emailrevealer.com. If you like today's show, check out our members section at oppermanreport.com. We have all kind of exclusive content, exclusive information you won't find anywhere else. And you want to check out our archives, Spreaker.com. As a matter of fact, we have a couple of shows in our archives with our current guest today, Jack Cashel. We did 2 shows with him previously. One about the flight TWA 800 and another one about Ron. Who was that guy? Ron
Brown.
Ron Brown. He died in a plane crash. Suspicious plane crash. Jack Cashel's got all the info. Jack Cashel.
Yes, Ed. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No, thank you so much, man. I know. Tell us about yourself. Remind the audience. Who is Jack Cashel?
Well, I'm a independent writer and producer. But, I've been self-employed for the last 20 years doing this. I work out of Kansas City, snowbound Kansas City. We're a victim of climate change that no one could have predicted. And I have made a career pretty much of what I would call chronicling the obvious. Mm-hmm. The major media leave the big stories on the table. They choose not to tell it their agenda. And for independent reporters, it's a godsend. It's like manna from heaven. All the big stories are there. Thus, I did the book on TWA Flight 800. I did the book on Brown plane crash. I was 7 years after the crash. I was the first person in the media to even ask for the Air Force report. And the New York Times had a guy on the plane who died. So it's, and what we're seeing now with the Russia collusion story, it's becoming more and more obvious that the media simply do not want to tell tales that do not fit their increasingly partisan agenda.
You were mentioning off the air, you got a new book called The Hunt, and it's at the website, thehuntbook.com. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is only my second novel, and the first one I've written in 20 years. I did this with a partner, Mike McMullen, because it's an action-adventure political thriller. It's really a tale of a coming-of-age tale with a father and takes his two sons, only to find themselves in the midst of a terrorist plot to shoot down the president's airplane. And I wrote it because there was so little fiction being written for young men and even adult men, and this book is for adults as well, that stresses virtue, that stresses fatherhood, it stresses all the kinds of things that a young man needs to learn to become a man. And so it's called The Hunt. You can get signed copies available now before Christmas at thehuntbook.com. Right. So, yeah, I would recommend it for the young men in your life or the men in your life. It's not a child's book, but it can be read profitably by young.
Excellent. Now, you came to my mind. I thought about you because I remember the last time I had you on the show, we were talking about the George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin.
Right.
And you wrote the book about If I Had a Son.
Right.
And as you know, Zimmerman just filed this big lawsuit. And
Yes.
the documentary that came out with Faked Witness.
Right.
Right. So why don't you tell us why don't you give us an idea of the outline of your book and your take on Zimmerman?
Yeah, I would say, and I'll jump right into Joel Gilbert's book. I introduced Gilbert to George Zimmerman, and I consulted with him on his project throughout. And he did a brilliant job, both in his film and his book. And Zimmerman, it's odd because I was just communicating with George yesterday. I asked him if he had seen the movie Richard Jewell, because it's so much like what happened to him. He got caught in a web of DOJ media collusion, and they needed a guilty party to satisfy the masses, and they came up with George Zimmerman. They turned a Obama-supporting civil rights activist who mentored black teens, who was Hispanic, whose first language was Spanish, into a white supremacist. So it was among the most reckless bits of media disinformation I've ever seen. And as a result, Zimmerman went through a couple of years of difficulty afterwards. I'd say he had a serious case of PTSD. And he's since turned his life around. But it was difficult, and he made it almost impossible.
Now, you said you were talking to Joel, or you were talking to George the other day?
I talked to George over the weekend, but I helped Joel on his book film from the beginning. I consulted with him on it from the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
couple of quick questions then. Now, how did Joel land that interview with Zimmerman? Obviously, you arranged it, but was Zimmerman aware that Joel had come up with this new ground-busting information about this faked witness?
No, when it had started, when he first met George, Gilbert had yet to discover what he discovered. He discovered it through just the most incredible, painstaking research, because he would call me about every other day and say, "Jack, you won't believe what I found. Look what I found," because he needed someone to share it with. And he knew I knew the background, so he had to start from scratch. But basically, in a nutshell, Ed, for your viewers, George Zimmerman shot and killed Trayvon Martin on February 26, 2012. I knew, as I laid out in my book, If I Had a Son, which came out in 2013, that the story was totally mistold from the beginning, that Zimmerman was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing that night. He was savagely attacked by Trayvon Martin, who, despite the photos, was a half a foot taller than he was and was totally into mixed martial arts. I attacked him out of the blue, broke his nose. He could have killed him. It was George Zimmerman who cried out for help for 40 seconds before, fearing that he would lose consciousness, he finally reached for his gun and shot and killed Trayvon Martin. That story was mistold from the very beginning by every major media outlet in America.
Yeah, I think the first mistelling of the story was HLN, Andrea Mitchell. When she's the one who I first noticed, and she played this short edited clip of the 311 call that ends with him leaving the car. Now, have you ever listened to that entire 3-minute 311 call?
Many, many times.
Well, okay, then you know what I'm talking about then, right?
Right. Right.
Well,
what happens in the call is, and NBC Miami was the first one to do this. They took the call. Zimmerman calls, and he says, hey, there's this suspicious-looking guy. He's standing out in the rain, looking into the shades of the apartments, and it's a cool night in Florida. And so then the dispatcher, this is a non-emergency number, by the way. It's a number that he was given because as a neighborhood watch guy, he was supposed to have. He was on his way to Target. He wasn't out patrolling. And he says to him, yeah. So then the dispatcher says, what does he look like? Well, he looks black. He's kind of wearing a hoodie, and he's wearing jeans and sneakers, and he's got a button on his shirt. And they condensed all that down to Zimmerman saying, I see this man. He looks suspicious. He looks black. He's wearing a hoodie. That's how NBC edited it.
Let me stop you right there because I have that whole portion memorized.
Yeah.
They said, is he white, black, or Hispanic? And he goes, I don't know. Wait, he's coming closer. Yeah, he's black.
Yeah, right.
So when he called, he didn't even know if the guy was black or not when he made the call.
No, right. He didn't know. He was too far away. And then he says, yeah, he looks black. And then they compressed all that.
Yeah.
NBC did in its editing to make it appear like he was profiling. He looks black. Yeah. He looks suspicious. He's black. He's wearing a hoodie. So the hoodie became part of the symbol as well, you know.
But now, what about the whole portion, though, after he gets out of the car where he's saying, I don't know where he went. I'm afraid to say, one of the cops coming. I'm scared. You know,
right.
I'm afraid to say where my address is because he may hear me.
That's right. And in fact, he got out of the car only because the dispatcher said, which way did he run?
Yeah.
And it was raining. And so Zimmerman, to see, this kid took off. I mean, there's no way Zimmerman's going to catch up with him. He's a half a foot shorter and he's 30 pounds heavier. And so he gets in a car to find him. And then dispatcher says to him, are you following him? Zimmerman says, yes. The dispatcher says, you don't have to do that. And then Zimmerman says, okay, and he stops. They edited out the okay, right? Yeah. In every account, they edited out the okay. And he had not gotten very far anyhow. Trayvon Martin could have literally run 100 yards in the time he had. He could run a half a mile. He had 4 minutes. He could run a mile if he was really fast. So he's looking for an address to report where he could talk to the police. And he's walking back to his car, and he's about 70 yards from the house where Trayvon Martin was staying. And then Martin comes out of nowhere and sucker punches him, knocks him down, and starts pounding the living daylights out of him. A witness comes out. And the witness tells the police that night, and he tells the media the next day, yeah, I came out, I saw this black guy in a hoodie. He was on top of a white or Hispanic guy in a red jacket. He was pounding him MMA style, mixed martial arts style, ground and pound. These are the words he's using. I told him to stop. I'm going to call the police. He didn't stop. Yeah, so the guy goes inside to call the police. Zimmerman says, hold it. He's not stopping even after this guy sees him. And that's when Zimmerman said he pulled the gun, you know.
Now, let me ask you again, because the rest of the 311 tape is so exonerating, you know. But
yeah.
Was it played at the trial?
I believe it was. Yeah, I think it was. All the evidence favored Zimmerman's acquittal, and there should never have been a trial. And this is what Joel Gilbert does his brilliant work in the Trayvon hoax, and that is which is definitely worth getting in both film and or book. What he does is he discovers that the key witness, the witness that allowed the state to arrest Zimmerman, and the witness who was testified at the trial and all the depositions leading up to the trial, was no witness at all. She was a total imposter. She didn't even know Trayvon Martin. She wasn't on the phone with him, all day. There was a girl who was on the phone with Trayvon Martin all day long. She's a Haitian-American hottie. Her name is Diamond Eugene. She was 16 at the time. And she was on the phone with him right up until the minute he was shot. Then what happened is that actually, as Joel points out, he does this really